Alright, here we are back at it in another Stormgate cast, and I'm Algorithmore, and this is going to be a continuation from our last video, which is a series of practice games between these two. And who are these two? Well, in the blue infernal here is Wallace, with a little vault happening, a little vault action, and his opponent in the red celestial trying to dodge my camera with his arc ship there. Is Aureil. I got you. Yes, Aureil on his alt, also known as Seraphim. He loves the Seraphim unit, and that's why I think he also loves the Archangel unit, which is his other alt. So I guess he's got a theme going here. The okay, so Wallace is. Did he send a skull? I didn't. I mean, he sent his Hex in. I didn't see if he scouted this base, but he scouted here and saw no arrays. And Aureil has opted to just open one base, which is a interesting strategy, especially out of Aureil, who tends to be very much a macro player. Has some cheese builds, but likes to go eco, especially since that's one of Celestial's strengths. And he's already up onto tier 2 with a Legion Hall outside. And now he's sending his Arc Station out. Two Therium miners and fully saturated on his one base. And, oh, I thought he maybe had a morph core there. Anyways, what's Wallace up to? We saw him open with his vault. His vault is pumping out brutes. And he's got one base over here with the back door already lumberjacked. And a third base on the way. Fourth base. We saw this from another game from him earlier where he went fast 4 shrines or 3 additional shrines while on one saturated base and one vault. Okay, here we see the build of Aureil coming into action. The Seraphim, true to his current alt's name, out on the map. Wow, they actually tear through these slimes. I've never really, I mean, I don't play Celestial, so I've never actually tried this myself, but yeah, they rip through them. I didn't know that a single Seraphim can take out this camp. I know they have been buffed lately. I guess a single Seraphim can take out this camp too. Wow, alright, so the one base build has started to gain its traction as already 2 very quick camps taken. I imagine we're going to see another one go down here. Where's this Seraphim going? Is it if this Seraphim can solo this camp, I imagine we're just going to see Evolution Catalyst. No. But yeah, this Seraphim looks like it can solo this camp. And the other Seraphim came here to see what's going on and find, oh, snipes an effigy. Then tries to go for the Hexen. The Hexen's the only unit here that can fight back. The Seraphim's extra damage is mostly to creeps. So I actually think that Hexen's kind of doing an okay job here. If she could get a skull off, maybe. But the Seraphim forces her to Shroud Weave away. I think that's what that teleport's called, Shroud Weave. And, okay, so this Seraphim, oh, had to go get the cabbage maybe to finish off this camp. There is another cabbage right there. And where's this Seraphim headed? To go get, snipe some imps maybe? And there's, oh, here's a Seraphim who's trying to harass the creeping units still. Some gaunts have been added, so now the Seraphim are it's a little more dangerous for them to do that. And the Seraphim look like they're all being called back home now. It's interesting to me, this strategy. Sometimes we see them used with that Evolution Catalyst, but we haven't seen that here. And, you know, he was on tier 2 tech, so we had that available. It's now on tier 3 tech. And this is, this base is up. No other bases? Interesting, interesting. Archangels. Here we have the Seraphim now going for this Therium camp. And Therium's not exactly what Aureil is lacking in right now. He has 600 Therium in the bank. But he's been focused on tech more than anything. And there's a fairly big army coming from Wallace. And the Archangel is going to fly right over this and could get a good shot here if he sees what he's doing. Instead takes a few shots. But those creeps are like, hey, we're not done with you. Come back here. And the brutes turn to fight. But he speeds back. That's his new upgrade. And this comes back, and bye-bye Therium miners. Not sure how many were there, but we see a few corpses and another. It's interesting style. Wow, that's super dangerous. If he meteor strikes right on top of all that, all those gobs and imps could have gone down. But no, choosing to preserve his Archangel, which I don't blame him because it's expensive. I really wonder about the Archangel style, though, in terms of the harass. They're fairly expensive units, and maybe I'm just more wondering about their unit design, as if this is truly the niche of the Archangel, is to just splatter imps. It's kind of a waste of a unit concept to me. Double meteor strikes, and then we get some shadow flyers on top. And again, he's going to have to retreat home. I think that's the second Archangel, though. And there's some more, 2 more out. And the Seraphim are trying to remain in control of the map. They didn't stop there to take that, which is curious. Maybe Aureil's more interested in just getting the instantaneous income. It's not clear to me. Now it's Wallace with a bit of a bank. And I wonder what he's going to do with that. This base is up. Oh, that's a farm there hiding behind the trees. Here comes some Archangels again. Probably going to try and get some imp kills here. Nice pull. But 3 go down. And this Archangel also nice splits. But finds 5 over there and takes them out. And now on the ground is trying to avoid the Shadow Flyers and fight with the ground army. Really just wants to kill more imps. And yeah, a sad life for the Archangel, who must sacrifice himself in the imp line, punching imps. If only I can get my cost's worth of imp kills, says the Archangel. Then I will have value in my existence. This one's sneaking around the back, being like, maybe this other imp line is unprotected. I heard there were 8 juicy imps back there. That could be enough. Let's go for it. Yes. He's not looking. Smash! Ay, ay, ay. How did he... Oh, it said 8. I think it was just not updated, but there's 10 still. It looks like that did not get the kills that he had hoped for, and I wonder why. Maybe it's just a UI bug there. But Purify trying to keep him alive, I think that helps with the avatar form. But unfortunately, zonked, as some Spriggies here were able to deal with him. And this ball from Wallace is looking pretty nasty. And it's Aureil here. Still with Seraphim's out on the map, but what else? Okay, there's some Sabers and Argents, but like 2 Sabers and 2 Argents? Okay, come on. Where's this Saber going? Sabers on a mission. Meanwhile, there's this enormous army. Again, there must be some units here. There's an Archangel. because the supplies say that they're equal. And I see this many units. I'm thinking, where are the units for Aureil? Morph cores? There's a lot of morph cores on the map. So now we're going to fight. One of the Archangels just goes straight down in the middle. Here they are. They're all the Archangels. They must have been hiding in the back. We see the supply now. And boom, a pretty good meter strike, but mostly on brute. I think you want to hit the Gaunts here because the Gaunts are squishier. I'd almost pick them all up again, if I can, and re-splatter them. Doesn't look like we have Reaper's Rush on the Gaunts yet. And I say, yeah, maybe Wallace is just not getting them at all. I have heard that's part of his strategy. I can only speculate what that is, other than maybe not wanting to waste the Luminite and Therium. It might be because the Gaunts are... There's a kind of a problem with the Gaunts when they have Reaper's Rush, which is they like to Reaper's Rush right into the front and then die. And the push priority that was updated several patches ago now actually helps the brutes push through them, but that doesn't mean they're not spending like a few rounds of fire on the front line tanking, which can be a real pain in the butt. You really want your ranged units showing up behind your melee. In like older games like Warcraft 3, you'd have them on separate controls so that you could move them separately and maneuver them separately. I think it's valuable actually to do that even in Stormgate, even though you can put everything on one control. You don't need to. Now, of course, I am 100% guilty of using the auto control groups because they're fun. They're useful. They make things easier. But maybe they are a crutch that makes the gameplay a little less dynamic and makes it a little easier to just rely on simpler micro. Now Wallace has managed to get a 40 supply lead, but he has decided not to push into this yet. I wonder what that's about. He is being very conservative with his army. And also, you know, still sitting on that bank. It's mostly Luminite, which isn't great for, you know, remaxing. Unless what you want to remax with is pure brute. In which case, he can definitely pump out some brutes. Assuming he has the charges, of course. But I had see him with a number of vaults here. There's another vault. It looked like they're out of charges, actually. I think, if I remember correctly, that fiery animation means they're out of charges. And it's interesting that Wallace in this series has remained on Brute Tech. Actually, the Brutes are unupgraded. That is also interesting. I think that might have been a mistake. Does he have his Hell Forge? I don't see one. Or did he mistakenly skip it? I don't even see a Hell Forge out there. Unless I missed it. Oh, there it is. Just finishing. Yeah. Things just starting. At minute 14, finishing the 2-minute Soulforge Ascendance. We'll be at minute 16. It'll finally be finished for his tier 1 brute timing attack. Spriggans, who I guess must have been out harassing him while I was curiously looking for upgrades, are engaged with these Archangels and Vectors, which of course is not what you want to engage with. What are those Archangels doing? Wow, okay, they do get some really nice meteor strikes there on the brutes, killing so many brutes, which turn into fiends and get caught in the area of effect fire damage there. And that actually looked really good for Aureil. So it's actually a solid engagement there, and Wallace took some serious damage, is now behind in supply. But remember, I talked about his bank. He lost a lot of brutes, but he can remax those brutes, assuming he has charges, which I don't think he did. Still trying to be aggressive, though. A lot of sabers here. Archangel's coming in. Where are the meteor strikes going to land, if anywhere? It looks like for now they are engaging the Spriggans. That leaves the ground army to be dealt with by the Sabers, and I think this might have been the right tactical choice here. A couple of the Archangels splashing down to just get some damage. It looks like the air battle was won here by Wallace, and if he can clear out the rest of these Archangels, and Vectors technically, the Sabers become free kills, but I guess there's just not enough, and the Air Force has to retreat. And both sides taking serious damage there, but the supplies remaining fairly equal, and it's Wallace who's able. Here we see, boom, watch this, boom. That's Hellforge Resurgent, Hellstorm Resurgent, something like that. I'll have to go look that one up again. That's the top bar ability that gives you 3 full charges on your building. We saw him just pounding that on top of there, using up all his animus, and just building a ton of brutes. And now it's, I think that Aureil must have caught a glimpse of this army going back, because he's now pulled back. And now this army is, right here in the base. It's almost all brute. But did their upgrade finish? Yeah, it looks like it did. Now, okay, the Air Force in the back is trying to chase these units away and keep them off the brutes, which is actually pretty good. There are some Hellborn there that I would reposition if I was Wallace. Oh, here he is. He's bringing his brutes in. I don't know if I like running the brutes into the meat grinder of the Sabers here. But some of these brutes do manage to get on top of the Sabers, and now there's DPS coming down. And wow, this, in combination with the Spriggans above the Sabers, just sort of melted away there. And now look at how many prisms are up. These prisms are going down, and that's a GG from Aureil. Okay, we're in another practice game between these two. Once again, this is Wallace in the blue. And I'm very grateful for these two sticking on their colors for me. That always helps out, especially if it's a mirror match, but it always helps out. So thank you, Wallace and Aureil. And where are you, Aureil? Hiding your arc shipping from me again. Here we are. Aureil Stormgate, Aureil Seraphim Archangel, the Celestial player. And the little Hexen coming in. Maybe I'll cast this whole game and zoomed in. No, that would be terrible. We're already too zoomed in this game. If we could just zoom out like this, just a tiny little bit, I'd be happy. And maybe we'll get something like that. This is still, of course, an early access game with lots of changes down the pipe. As we saw already, some good eco changes in the last patch. Surprised I'm calling them good. Personally, I'm not a fan of them, but as I can definitely tell the community likes them. A big F from Wallace as his Hexen goes down. That's definitely not what we like. It says trade of mistakes. I didn't see what the other mistake was. I did not see that. Probably because I was yammering and yapping. But Wallace here doing that same build. So maybe this is a... I was mentioning earlier that these practices are often played out when maybe one player is trying to learn a style to defeat some other opening or build order. So it's very possible that Aureil had asked Wallace, hey, do your triple shrine eco build on me over and over again, so I can practice different solutions or answers to it, because we have been seeing different builds out of Aureil in most of these games. Not necessarily different openings every time, but different, follow-ups to that opening. Last game we saw that one base Seraphim opening, which it's a niche opening. I think it can be very successful against Infernal, but it's the kind of build that if you are playing the same opponent over and over again, you probably don't want to keep playing that build because it can be hard countered. And one way to do that is just to get some gaunts early gaunts out on the map to challenge the map control of the Seraphims. So I'm not too surprised that we're not seeing that same build here. In fact, we're seeing a more standard triple array into creation chamber, but I think this creation chamber I think maybe came before this array. So not only is this maybe a more standard opening, I think this is a more standard opening for Aureil, personally. He does like macro style more, and this is a pretty standard macro opening. While Wallace is creeping his speed cam first, it looks like he hasn't... Oh, he did creep this, but didn't take it. That was probably just... I think most times when players don't take, it's usually not some deep thinking strategy build. It's more likely just, oh, I pulled my units away from that just 1 second too quick. I was just about to ask myself, where's the Hexen? Oh yeah, she went down to a Morph Core. So this is what the game would look like if there were no scouting units. You just gotta creep with the units you built. And at least for the current state of the game, that seems almost alien. I know when I lose my Hexen early and have to just creep with some Brutes and Gaunts, it feels kind of weird. It's like I don't have a hero unit. Maybe that's a soft argument for we should put heroes in. And now it looks like Wallace has come across. He's going to do a little jacking, a little creep jacking. Well, we're starting to get Argents out. So we might be doing a more standard like Argent. I was going to say that, and then I looked over and saw 3 Legion Halls on the way. So it's might going to be Argents, but still with the Archangel support. And from Aureil, again, someone who loves the Archangels by his own testament, I'm not super surprised to see that as a build. Maybe, again, this is something that he's trying to do, is figure out how can I get Archangels to work against this particular composition. What do I need to pair them with? Do we got upgrades on these bad boys yet? So last game we waited until the 14th minute. Oh, it's high Spriggan play here. We saw those Twilight Spires in the back, and I didn't really mention them, but lots of Spriggies out, or Spriggies on the way, I should say. And yeah, we don't have upgrades yet except for Plague Axes. And it's 3 Twilight Spires, and there's your Shadow Cleft with, looks like 4 Spriggans out. So I wonder what makes Spriggans so good in this particular matchup. Maybe it's that a lot of the units that are being fielded by Aureil are heavy units, and there's bonus damage to them. And then you add to that the Binding Saliva. Wow, Prisms are damn resilient as well. Give me, there are some Archangels over here. I think they got a couple splashes. But workers can be incredibly resilient in this game, with the exception, I guess, of imps that get splattered by Archangels. Oh no, the Therium Miners. More going down, so... A whole bunch going down there. But so does the Archangel. So again, these are sacrificial suicidal Archangels, and they gotta get damage to pay for themselves. Maybe they did. It's all in how many imps you take out. But this base remains saturated. So does this one. This guy, but who knows? It may not have been saturated to start out with. This one doing alright. And the Spriggans are back out here. This is also what I'm thinking, like, those Spriggans took out that array so fast compared to how long it seemed to be taking them to harass those Prisms earlier. Ooh, a second kill. That's just bonus extra lucky when you get a free kill on that base like that. That's Aureil maybe putting it down too quickly while the Spriggans are still there. I mean, it's good to have that quick micro to be like, okay, you killed my base, but I'm rebuilding it. I'll be right back up. And there's been, you know, one of the comments I think going into some of the eco changes for Celestials in particular, switching to the Prism style, was that you might get more partial harass on bases where you take out the Prisms instead of going for the Array. But I don't see that as being the actual meta right now. You still see players targeting the Array because why not? When if I take out that Array, it's like I've taken out all your miners. It's like killing the town hall. It's like killing the shrine or the command post, but it has way less hit points than a shrine or a command post, so it's easier as a target. And you know, combining that with the resilience of the Prisms and workers in general, it looks like that just happens to be the way to go. Morph Core cancels and then does get taken out, but better than losing the Array. And now it's Archangels here trying to get on top, getting some good punches. Punches those Spriggans dead. But the Spriggans fly back to the safety of their army. The Archangels retreat back with theirs. Once again, we're seeing an interesting thing with the supply, where the supply seems to be fairly even, but when I look at this, at the ball of units here, there just seems so many more infernal units, and he's only got a 15 supply lead. So where's all that supply? And I know Prisms, and well, there's 3 Prisms working on this Therium, 3 here as well. So it could be a lot of prison commitment. I'm not sure. I think Arrays cost supply as well. So now, of course, for the Celestials, the supply doesn't really matter. You're capped at 300 all along, so you don't really have to deal with that as a thing until you reach 300 supply. So I think 3 or 4 Prisms went down there. Looks like the ball of Seraphims are getting big enough that they can almost one-shot the Prisms, which maybe makes sense since they were like 2 or 3 shotting the Arrays earlier. And this army is now maxed. It's now maxed. It's got the dragon. There's no real reason to wait any longer. There are a ton of Archangels here. Maybe that's one reason, is there is a lot of static D over here. Maybe go over here, although it looks like there's static D over there as well. It'll probably take longer for this army to maneuver over there as well, although it looks like, yeah, so Aureil sees the units from the camp here and now knows that this part of his base is going down. So far that's not anything. Well, here goes the Array, and the Spriggans will stay long enough to nuke it. A few of them going down. Now there's just so many Archangels here that the brute force is not really useful unless the Archangels decide to meteor strike into it. Now, of course, that the brutes don't really want that. They're going to melt to that, and especially if these are upgraded Archangels. Here they come. Are they going to go for a meteor strike? What is this? Brigands fly by. Take out the Arc Fortress. That's a nice prize to get. Lots of strike nodes over here, but they're just being ignored for Prism harass, and the Archangels chase them away. And that's, I guess, a signal for Wallace to say, fine, then I'm just going to push back in over here. You must have repositioned all your Archangels so I can get in here. Take out that Legion Hall. Take out the, or sorry, the Ascension Matrix. Now here come the Archangels back. A lot of the brutes are just dying off against this wall of Argent and Saber. The Archangels move in there with terrible AoE. So much ground splash here. All these units melt. Gone. Just gone. That's why you don't want to stand in that stuff. These Archangels definitely got their money's worth here. Somehow Wallace magically remaxing. Of course not magically. This is part of the infernal power. He's got a huge bank too. And he is expanding forward into a rail space here. And here comes the Archangel. That's a very brave Archangel. And it gets taken out. Dies as it splashes on the ground. And Wallace is almost remaxed again. Still with 4,000 in the bank. Plus 500 Ethereum. Must be just waiting on charges. When you got that much in the bank, I'd say just drop a couple more vaults, a couple more. I mean, that's my poor macro speaking. I don't want to comment too much, as though I know better than Wallace, who's one of the better Infernals on the ladder right now. And as we can see from these series of games that he's played against Aureil, that he's definitely showcased a very strong Infernal versus Celestial style. I really love the commitment to the heavy brutes. I'd love to see tier 3 upgrades on them. He is up at tier 3. Where's that Hellforge? Oh, he's got him on the way. Attaboy, attaboy. Got mag upgrades too. As well as the Shroud upgrade, which I rarely see, but I think definitely is valuable, and I'd love to see more of it. Again, some clutch Archangels mixed with Sabers to just absolutely melt the ground force. Sabers, or sorry, Weavers remain. Hellborns in the back still stay alive. But it looks like, ooh, Sovereign's Watch is doing a good job to take out a lot of the Spriggans, and wow! Once again, both armies just melting, but look at this. Oh, Mag's on the way. It's going to be a Mag force now. I think that Mags could be a good choice here. They do bonus versus heavy, which is Archangels, and they're quite a bit tankier, so they might do better inside all that nastiness that the Archangels bring with them. Like, oh my goodness, we see him using that Hellspawn Resurgence. Again, Hellspawn, I think that's what it is. I called it Hellforge Resurgence, I think, earlier, but I think that's the right name. To just pump out a ton of brutes. We see that 4,000 just used up. There's not so many Archangels anymore. And look at this. It's like a sea of brutes. Sea of brutes. Now remember, these are all upgraded brutes now. Double upgraded means that when they turn into fiends, they have basically, you know, what were the speedlings, the cracklings in StarCraft? That's basically what they turn into. They have an increased attack speed. Oh, get better. GG. You such a good guy, I think is what he's trying to say there. But yeah, that's another GG. All right, here we are in a third match between these two. And in the blue trunks is Wallace, who told his opponent last game, get better. So, between games, did Aureil get better? We shall see. Shall see on this match on Boneyard. And what will Aureil try this time? Will Wallace go with his tried and true? What we've seen so far? And will Aureil do something fancy and fun to try and earn a win here? The Hexen, last match she died. But this match, hopefully she stays alive. Looks like Aureil's going to go for that island base for his third. one of the advantages on Boneyard for Celestials. I say Celestials, anyone can take that base, of course, but you need to drop ship if you're anyone else. And very rarely have I seen that base being taken by an Infernal or a Vanguard. So Wallace actually, oh no, I was going to say, it looks like he changed. No, he sent his imp here. I was kind of looking for it over here, but he's going for the forward base instead. And positioning it sort of closer to the Ethereum nodes. Interesting. I mean, this is a terrible base. When I'm here, I usually just make 2 shrines. And again, I usually make choices like that to make up for my bad macro more than anything. With 2 shrines, I can make more imps. And that helps when I forget to make imps. So my style, probably not optimal. Probably not. Oh, and 4th base. So we are seeing fairly the same here. It was just out of order from what I was expecting. And what do we got there? Conclave. Okay, so we're seeing this is the build that Wallace has gone for. And he does get a fair number of imps, or sorry, fiends out of this. Gets a fair number of imps out of this too, to be honest, just because he gets so many shrines early on. I imagine that's part of the whole power of this. His first shrine up. And he's on to the Ethereum mining. So again, he's got some fairly practiced build here. I wonder if he's going to go up. When is he going to go up to that tier 2? There we go. So I saw that he had his Ethereum up. And he probably was... I was just waiting to notice it more than anything. I don't imagine there's anything else behind that. And okay, that fiend's not quite close enough, I don't think, to be able to see. There we go. Does a full scout. Now, I'm not sure. He has a text in there. He could send a skull over. These brutes don't like cabbage, I guess. He could have totally ate that cabbage. We do see fiends with a run by, and they're going to get on top of these artists, try and get them, but a Sovereign's Watch goes down. They got to run away. All these units meeting for a picnic over by the Ethereum or Luminite camp here. And so Wallace went for a little scouting run, but didn't really get any damage or anything, and I don't think he did see this 3rd base. He may assume he's got it. Now, I could have taken that power bank. But I think, yeah, they're scouting more than anything. Definitely could have got the power bank. Nice try. So good micro to try and get these fiends out of here. And saying, hey, I found a link node. Link nodes don't have a lot of HP. I might be able to DPS it down. No, I'm out of here. Bzzz, let's go. Come on, Bob. And Wallace on his eco play. This base half saturated. So 2 fully saturated and 2 half. So that's a 3 base up and going. And yeah, still doing that same build, which prioritizes tier 1 units into Spriggans into the upgrades in the tier 3 and all that business. While macroing mostly. Not trying to be aggressive with this. I guess that makes sense when you open with 4 shrines. I mean, you don't really get that investment back until they're all saturated. And here we are, what, at 6 minutes, and we're still trying to saturate our bases. This base oversatched, so we'll need to change the rally on that one. 9 on the Ethereum over here is certainly abundant. He could split half off. Something I've been trying to remind myself to do. Though I don't know if there's a better Therium patch to send him to right now. One that's closer and gives you more efficient mining, or as efficient mining. And that's because this one, actually this one is probably the best one. But as I already mentioned, this one's too far away. Hi, I'm a V5 rocket. Do you want to kill me? Going for that farm. Might get it. Nope. And now the Spriggans notice. Oh, wait a second. There is a base up here. Starvin's Watch. Chase him away. That was probably a evolution catalyst over there. And Wallace, rotating back to reclaim some camps. So I wonder what that's about. I mean, like I said, he's trying to take advantage of the eco. He's now fully satched here. And, and it's just in time, or the Archangel didn't see that one sneaking around. Probably because I didn't have my eyes on Aureil's base and saw him, of course, getting on his Archangel tech. And so this base is going to have to resaturate again. There we go. Mine our Ethereum mining shrine as well. Okay, micros back one Spriggan, takes out that node. And now it's an Archangel trying to defend as a micro battle. And the Binding Saliva makes it hard for the Archangel to get away. He uses Meteor Strike technically to get away. Not that they can't hit the ground, but it just allows them to move quicker. Lots of low Spriggans. So yeah, it's good for them to come here and quickly regen that white health, that Shroud Skin. And we're up to, what's that? 2, 4, 6 Archangels. And more creeping, it looks like. Just so far, these pair are not trying to go toe to toe with each other. And once again, we see these units pulling back to the energy camp. Like, go for the old Skull Squisher. Take him out. Send the V5. Go for a run. Take a swing. I wonder if Wallace's strategy is literally, I'm going to not engage full on until I'm maxed and have a bank. So that even when you delete my army, as long as I trade somewhat efficiently, I'll just remax and do it again and again and again until you're dead. It's worked the last few games. Lots of strike nodes there, but the array goes down. A few Spriggans probably went down as well. But the array gets summoned again immediately, and the Starforge here. Oh, we do have sabers in here. I don't think I noticed them, but I think they have been here for maybe the last engage or two. And the Spriggan's coming back. Last node just finishes and it gets taken out. Archangel's coming. Those surge strike nodes just attack so fast. Of course, with the surge, they go faster. Evolution Catalyst take out this Luminite. Kind of a split map scenario here, although it's Wallace who's splitting a little more and being like, okay, I'm going to take every base I can. Whereas Aureil's type of sneakiness is more this camp stealing. Like, I'm going to go steal this camp in your backyard and send this V5 at you. I'm going to go over here and steal this camp. I'm going to have these Argents that are sort of walking back and forth and trying to take camps. And Wallace has got his maxed army. And now what is he waiting for? Just his bank? Did he have a dragon in there? Cool thing is if you max out and you forget your dragon, you can still build it. It'll let you. Or at least it did in an older build. I don't know if they fixed that. But Wallace, I guess, I don't know, just chilling on this maxed army. Transferring imps over here. We are at the point where main bases tend to mine out, so the main is mine. There we go. He was waiting on his dragon, as we can see here. 315. Able to go over max. And here's our first engage, although we see him pulling back. It's kind of a choke here, not the best place for him to engage. Tons of meteor strikes there. Yeah, that's exactly what our Aureil likes to see. So many units going down in that AoE. There's almost nothing you can do except just disengage, but when they splatter in the whole middle of your army, so many low Archangels, you don't want to leave them like that. They can go get the healing juices and be right back up to full, and that's so you know, beneficial for Aureil. So here, yeah, he goes in and has them hug the Arch Fortress so that they can be healed up. Well, the Arch Fortress needs to get over some power banks. Ran out of power. And it is 300 from Aureil, and Wallace, like I said, trying to remax again, although his bank is spent. Oh, so many of those low Archangels are getting hit by Shadow Flyers. And that means there's not going to be as much. So now we see earlier Megs coming out of Wallace. He brought Megs in last game to deal with the Archangels. Now some Weavers with some lashes, but it looks like it's only Weavers left. There's a single Meg down here fighting a power bank. But yeah, the Weavers have to retreat and they're all going to get taken out. 230 for Aureil and 194 for Wallace. And not a huge bank for Wallace to remax with. He does have a little bit of a bank. Look at all that Animus. You can just wait 5 minutes, you could get double dragon. Which was a pretty fun Nintendo game from 30 years ago. Maybe 40 years ago. I'm getting pretty old. Alright, this is an army streaming across. This is a little bit of the testament to the new eco. That as long as you have production, that even when you are losing units, you can kind of stream reinforcements across the map. Which is part of what I do like about the new eco. Is, I think I mentioned this in other casts, but I like that the economy better matches the time to kill. That is, as your units are dying, it's right around the same pace at which reinforcements are arriving, which makes for longer term battles where right within the battle, micro and macro are both coming into play. If you're not macroing back home, you're not streaming reinforcements into the current battle, which means you're going to lose it. But also, you need to micro those units in the battle to preserve them as much as you can. If that sweet spot can be hit by Stormgate, this is going to be an amazing game. Now we're going to see a big engage here. There's one Meg out the front. Here he is with his trample. Says, I'm upgraded too. I got Demon Hoosh Tremors. A lot of sides up above. I think that's the deal with the Air Force. But Hellborn are focusing on them, while the Brutes are just pushing forward relentlessly on top of the Sabres. Sabres do a great job to melt units, but they're just not intended to be frontline units. Wallace pulling back for now. What are all the imps doing? Jeez, okay. Pulling back a bit. I like that Wallace is just fine. I'm tech switching into Hellborn. Are these upgraded Hellborn? Sure are. Sure are indeed. Hellborn can be really good against, of course, air, but also can be quite good against Argents. I think in this battle between Hellborn and Sabers, I really think Sabers are the winners in that battle. Hellborn are pretty good siege units, just not great against other siege units. I think tanks and Sabers win those battles. But here we are with Wallace with the Hellborn in the back trying to do what they're best at, which is just raining down supplemental DPS from behind. But the front line's almost gone. Yeah, you got to turn and run. And this is, again, a little symptom of everything on one control group. You really just want to run the Hellborn away. Let the rest of the brutes tank there for a couple extra seconds while the Hellborn run away, just in case you get chased. Slow minute while they regroup here. Each one trying to rebuild a little bit. Notice neither of them carrying a bank like we've seen in previous matches, so we're back to like almost small but high-tech armies, which I think is kind of a fun thing to watch. Looks like Aureil might actually push out a little bit here and try and get aggressive, which is something we haven't seen a lot in these series. But Wallace has just repositioned and gets a lash on one of the Sabers, but there are a lot of Archangels, and the Archangels are punching the Dragon. Back off, Dragon. The Dragon says, fine, I'm flying away. Hellborn here don't want to get caught out. They do start to pull back. Dragon's in full retreat. Hellborn get a couple shots off on the Archangels. But it is Aureil pushing forward. His Sabers in the back getting some good strike sound, taking out almost all the Hellborn. Weaver's going down too. It's still just a low supply battle here, but it's a much lower supply for Wallace. And his Dragon also incredibly low, managing to get over Shroud, and look how fast his Shroud skin regens. Turns to try and fight the Scythe, and yeah, manages to get it with his huge DPS. But maybe that's not enough. That's a GG, well played out of Wallace. And indeed, good game, Aureil, for figuring out how to break Wallace in this third game.